Shalom Aleichem. My name is Rabbi Adam Dubin, and I work at the RCA office in New York City. First of all, I wanted to wish everyone a good winter. I hope that everyone had a wonderful Yontif this past Tishrei, and that it should be a good year going forward. And of course, a good Chodesh. I hope that this Chodesh Cheshvan will be the start of a good year without all the Yom Tov in it. We all know that the rainbow, while it might be pretty, is not necessarily a positive thing. After all, why do we have the rainbow? Because it's a siman, it's an ice that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Noach and for future generations, the promise that he will never completely destroy the world through a flood again. So again, it's a pretty thing, but it's not necessarily such a positive thing. It's been said that whenever there is a rainbow, that Hashem would have destroyed the world, but he's keeping his promise. So it's really a negative thing, as much as it might be pretty. But on a, we'll say, scientific level, we know that a rainbow is a natural phenomenon. Rays of light pass through droplets of water suspended in the atmosphere. The clear crystal-like droplets refract the light, unleash the spectrum of the colors, and then displays them in an arc across the sky. But before the Mabul, this natural occurrence didn't occur. There was something about the interaction between the moisture in the Earth's atmosphere and the light that came from the sun that failed to produce the rainbow. It was only after the Mabul that the dynamics that create a rainbow were set into place by Hashem as a newly formed ice with between him and Noach and of course the rest of us until today. The spiritual and physical are two faces of the same reality. This change in the physical nature of the interaction between water and light reflects a deeper spiritual difference between the pre- and post-Mabul worlds, and therefore the resulting difference in Hashem's matter of dealing with a corrupted world. An examination of the Torah's account of the first 20 generations of history reveals two primary differences between the world before the Mabul and after the Mabul. Before the Mabul, the generations enjoyed long lives, really richas yamim. We find people living into the 8th, 9th, and 10th centuries. Noach's grandfather, Meshusalach, lived 969 years. His father, Lemech, 777 years. Noach himself, 950 years. The Zohar explains that this was an era of divine benevolence in which life, health, and prosperity flowed freely and indiscriminately from Hashem. Following the Mabul, we see a steady decline in human lifespan. Within 10 generations, Abraham is considered old at the age of 100. The second difference is one that seems at odds with, or perhaps even contradictory to the first. After the Mabul, the world gained a stability and permanence it didn't enjoy before the Mabul. Before the Mabul, the world's very existence was contingent upon its moral state. When humanity disintegrated into corruption and violence, that's when Hashem commanded Noach to build the Teva, because I'm going to destroy the rest of the world population. After the Mabul, Hashem promised, I will not again curse the earth because of what man does. I'm not going to strike down every living thing as I have done now. For all the days of the earth, the seasons, their seed time, the harvest, the cold and the heat, summer, winter, none of these will stop. In other words, no longer would the cycle of life and the nature of totter on the verge of extinction whenever man strays from Hashem. In this post-Mabul world, it's a world whose existence is assured. a world that's desired by Hashem, regardless of the present state and conformity to his will. And the guarantor of this assurance is the symbol of new stability, is the rainbow. Before the Mabul, man's role in creation was primarily in reacting to Hashem's involvement in the world. The flow of the divine vitality into the world was plentiful, uninhibited. It enabled man to attain great material and spiritual heights. But these achievements were only man's acceptance of what was being bestowed upon him from Hashem, rather than the fruits of his or her own initiative. In the post-Mabul world, it was very different. Before the Mabul was like a brilliant pupil who grasps most profound teachings of his teacher, but doesn't understand or have the ability to conceive of a single original thought on his own. So once corrupted, once it had distanced itself from Hashem and disavowed a relationship with him, it lost the basis for existence. When man ceased to respond, the world didn't have any further use, so to speak, chas v'shalom, for Hashem. After the Mabul, Hashem imbued the world with a new potential, the potential to create. He granted it the ability to take what it receives from above and develop it, extend it, expand upon it. The world was now like a disciple who had been trained by his master to think on his own, to take the ideas that he had learned and apply them to new areas. Man was now able not only to absorb the divine input into his life, but also to unleash its potential in new and unprecedented ways. Such a world is in many ways weaker than the world that's wholly sustained by Hashem's benevolence. It's more independent and therefore has more subject to the limitations and mortality of the human state. And as a result, the shorter lifespans that we find in the post-Mabul world. But in the final analysis, such a world is more enduring. Even when it loses sight of its origin and its purpose, it retains the ability to rehabilitate, to tshuva, to restore its relationship with Hashem, because it possesses an independent potential for its own self-renewal. It can always reawaken this potential, even after it has been suppressed or lain dormant for generations. The rainbow is the natural event that exemplifies the new post-Mabul order. Moisture rises from the earth to form clouds and raindrops, which then catch the light from the sun. A less refined substance would merely absorb the light, but the purity and the translucence of these droplets allow them to focus and channel the rays that they capture in ways that allow them to reveal the many colors implicit within each ray of sunlight. In the pre-Mabul world, there was no rainbow. There was nothing about it that could rise from below and interact with it and develop it from what it received from above. Such was its spiritual nature. As a result, the conditions of the physical rainbow also couldn't develop. The mist it raised could only absorb but not refract the light of the sun. Lacking a creative potential of its own, the pre-Mabul world was left without reason and right for its existence when it ceased to receive the divine affluence from Hashem. Then came the Mabul. The rains came and destroyed and corrupted world and cleansed it and purified it, leaving in their wake a new world with a new nature, a world that rises to meet and transform what is bestowed upon it, a world with the translucency and refinement to develop the gifts it receives into a new, unprecedented vistas of light and color. When this world goes astray, Hashem sees its rainbow, and the sight causes him to stop from destroying him. The rainbow attests to the world's new maturity, its ability to ultimately rise above its present lapse and rebuild its relationship with Hashem. May we merit to not need to have the new simanim of the rainbow on a continual basis, but may it also serve for us as a reminder for ourselves that there's always something more. We can always end up to do more for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, and the world at large. May it be Hashem's will that we will be able to transform this new world that He gave us since the Mabul into a world that truly sees and reflects the light that we, the Or Lagoyim, are able to give onto it. And with that, we should ultimately see the fulfillment of Hashem's promise to Avram Avinu and to all of our forefathers, that we will return to Eretz Yisrael all together at the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash. Amen.